There are corners of this planet that have never felt a human footstep, never been mapped with precision, and never surrendered their mysteries to modern science. Despite satellites orbiting overhead and technology advancing at a breathtaking pace, the Earth still holds places so remote, so hostile, or so deliberately protected that they remain largely unknown to the outside world. These are not just distant islands or frozen wastelands. Some of these unexplored places sit within countries we know well, hidden in plain sight behind dense jungle canopies beneath ocean surfaces, or inside cave systems that stretch for miles underground. The idea that exploration is a finished chapter of human history is simply not true. In fact, scientists and researchers estimate that more than 80% of the ocean floor has never been mapped in detail, and vast stretches of rainforest remain uncharted by modern cartographers. The world is far larger in mystery than most people realize, and the places that remain unexplored are not just geographically fascinating. They carry within them the potential to rewrite what we know about biology, geology, climate history, and even human civilization itself. Every unexplored region is essentially a locked room full of answers to questions we have not yet thought to ask. The Amazon rainforest is often described as the lungs of the earth, but it is equally accurate to call it the brain of the unknown. Covering over 5.5 million square kilometers across 9 countries in South America, the Amazon is so vast and so dense that entire ecosystems exist within it that science has never documented. Deep within the Brazilian and Peruvian sections of the forest, there are regions where the tree canopy is so thick that sunlight barely reaches the ground. Aerial surveys have revealed the outlines of what appear to be ancient settlements hidden beneath the vegetation, structures that suggest civilizations far more complex than previously imagined once thrived in these jungles. The most famous of these discoveries came when researchers using LiDAR technology, which stands for light detection and ranging, scanned the forest floor and found geometric earthworks, roads, and plaza formations stretching across hundreds of kilometers. Yet even with this technology, only a fraction of the Amazon has been surveyed this way. The deeper interior remains inaccessible by conventional means, and the indigenous communities who live within these regions have deliberately chosen isolation, making those territories both legally and ethically off-limits to outside exploration. These uncontacted tribes represent not just a human mystery, but a living connection to ways of life that predate modern civilization by thousands of years. If the Amazon is the great unknown on land, the deep ocean is its underwater equivalent multiplied many times over. The Mariana Trench, located in the western Pacific Ocean, reaches a depth of nearly 11 kilometers at its deepest point, known as the Challenger Deep. To put that into perspective, if you place Mount Everest at the bottom of the trench, its peak would still be more than 2 kilometers below the ocean's surface. Despite being discovered decades ago, only a handful of crewed descents have ever reached the bottom, and the total time humans have spent at that depth could be measured in hours. The pressure at those depths is more than 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level, making exploration extraordinarily difficult and expensive. What little we have seen from robotic probes and submersibles has revealed a world that defies expectation. Life exists there in forms that challenge our understanding of biology. Creatures adapted to complete darkness, crushing pressure, and near-freezing temperatures have been found thriving in ways that suggest life can persist in conditions once thought impossible. Beyond the Mariana Trench, the vast majority of the ocean floor, including mid-ocean ridges, underwater mountain ranges, and deep-sea plains, remains completely unvisited and unmapped at any meaningful resolution. The ocean is not just unexplored, it is fundamentally alien to human experience. Underground cave systems represent another dimension of unexplored territory that most people never consider. The world beneath our feet is riddled with passages, chambers, and networks that extend for hundreds of kilometers in some cases. The Sun Duong Cave in Vietnam, discovered by a local farmer in 1991 and first fully explored by British cavers in 2009, is the largest known cave in the world by volume. It contains its own weather system, its own jungle and river systems that flow through its chambers. Yet Sun Duong is just one cave in a region of Vietnam that contains hundreds of others, many of which have never been entered by humans. In Mexico, the Sistema Sac Actun is the longest known underwater cave system in the world, stretching over 347 kilometers of submerged passages. Archaeologists exploring its chambers have found human remains and artifacts dating back more than 12,000 years, suggesting these caves served as shelters and ceremonial spaces for ancient peoples. The deeper sections of these cave systems remain unexplored simply because the technology and physical endurance required to reach them pushes beyond current human limits. Geologists believe that cave systems of similar or greater scale likely exist in regions of Africa, Asia, and South America that have never been systematically surveyed. Moving to the frozen extremes of the planet, Greenland's interior ice sheet hides an entire landscape beneath its frozen surface. Using radar imaging, scientists have discovered mountain ranges, valleys, and even ancient river systems locked beneath kilometers of ice. Some of these subglacial features are larger than the Alps, yet no human has ever stood on them or studied them directly. As climate change accelerates the melting of polar ice, these hidden landscapes are slowly being revealed, but the process is gradual, and the full picture of what lies beneath remains incomplete. Siberia presents a different kind of unexplored frontier. Covering over 13 million square kilometers, it is the largest region in the world and contains vast stretches of taiga forest, permafrost plains, and mountain ranges that have never been comprehensively explored. The Sakha Republic alone, a single administrative region within Siberia, is larger than Argentina. Within its borders are river systems, lake networks, and geological formations that scientists have cataloged only from satellite imagery. The permafrost of Siberia also holds another kind of secret. Preserved within the frozen ground are the remains of ancient animals, plants, and microorganisms dating back tens of thousands of years. Some of these frozen specimens are so well preserved that researchers have successfully extracted genetic material from them, opening possibilities for understanding prehistoric life that were unimaginable just a generation ago. Africa holds its own share of unexplored territory, and not all of it is desert or jungle. The name of desert, one of the oldest deserts on Earth, contains geological formations and biological adaptations that scientists are still working to understand. Fog-basking beetles, plants that survive on coastal mist, and underground water systems that defy the logic of desert environments make this region a living laboratory. But deeper into the continent, the Congo Basin rainforest rivals the Amazon in both size and mystery. Covering over 3 million square kilometers, it is the second largest tropical rainforest in the world, and significant portions of it have never been surveyed on the ground. Aerial and satellite surveys have identified unusual formations and biodiversity hotspots within the Congo Basin that suggest species and ecosystems entirely unknown to science may exist there. Ethiopia's church forests are a different kind of unexplored space, not geographically remote but culturally protected. These small patches of ancient forests surrounding Ethiopian Orthodox churches have been preserved for centuries by religious tradition. Scientists studying them have found that they contain extraordinary biodiversity compared to the surrounding agricultural land, functioning as isolated arcs of ancient ecosystems. The full biological inventory of these forests has never been completed, and researchers believe they may contain plant species with medicinal properties that have never been studied. The existence of these unexplored places is not merely a curiosity for adventurers and scientists. It carries profound implications for every person alive today. The medicines that treat some of the most devastating diseases of our time were discovered in plants and organisms found in remote ecosystems. Compounds derived from rainforest plants, deep-sea organisms, and cave-dwelling bacteria have contributed to treatments for cancer, infections, and neurological conditions. Every unexplored ecosystem is potentially a pharmacy that has never been opened. Beyond medicine, unexplored regions serve as climate regulators, carbon sinks, and biodiversity reservoirs that support the stability of the entire planetary system. The Amazon alone stores an estimated 150 to 200 billion tons of carbon, and the deep ocean plays a critical role in regulating global temperature and oxygen levels. Losing these regions to deforestation, pollution, or climate change before we even understand them would be a loss of incalculable magnitude. There's also something deeply important about the philosophical dimension of unexplored places. They remind us that humility is still warranted, that the story of this planet is not finished, and that discovery is not a relic of the past, but an ongoing responsibility. The blank spaces on the map are not failures of human knowledge. They are invitations, standing open, waiting for the next generation of explorers to step forward and ask the questions that have not yet been asked.